Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my second July wrap-up. In this video, I will talk about the 6 books that I finished in the second half of July. And like I did in the previous videos, I will insert the clips that I've recorded very soon after I finish those works. Today is the 21st of July, and yesterday I finished the audiobook that I was listening for, Janeaustenjuly. Actually, my theme book, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, of course. This was a reread for me. Sense and Sensibility was the book that I read relatively later than Jane Austen's any other work. It was also the first time that I've listened to a Jane Austen book, and since I was visiting Chios Island, which is very close to my home city, for 2 days, and I was walking a lot, audiobook was the perfect format for me to consume this book. In this book we follow the events following the death of Mr. Dashwood, and how his widow and his 3 daughters do kind of fall into an economic hardship because her stepson inherited the mansion, and we follow the older 2 sisters, sensible Eleanor and sensitive Marianne, as they try to adapt into the life provided by their distant cousin. Also deal with the intricacies of growing up as a woman, to fall in love and suffer from heartbreaks. After re-listening to this book, actually my views about the book did not change much. I thought it was a very beautifully written book. And also, like in every other Jane Austen book, I really do like the subtle wit surrounding it. I just adore the character of Eleanor. She has always been the most relatable Jane Austen character for me, because I mostly like her in dealing with matters of the heart, actually. I think the most important relationship of this book is the relationship between the sisters. Although they are very different, they love each other so much and support each other whenever they can. However, I have 2 main factors which prevents me giving this book 4.5 stars or 5 stars. First one is the romances in the book. I like Colonel Brandon as a character very much, but I think he would be a better husband to Eleanor. And as you can guess, Edward is not a favorite character of mine. Also, I thought the book could have been shorter. There was some repetitive details, and especially the conversations regarding emotional affairs of the girls. It felt like I was listening to the same section again and again. But overall, it's a Jane Austen book. It certainly deserves a very high 8 out of 10. Today is the 25th of July, and yesterday evening I finished the play that I was reading for Books of Alfred Hitchcock Project, which was Rope by Patrick Hamilton. This play was adapted into an Alfred Hitchcock movie titled the same name, Rope, in 1948. At the beginning of this play, we learned that 2 friends did kill another friend of theirs, just for the thrill of it, thinking that they are the most clever people in the room. They invite the murdered friends, family, and some of their own friends to have a party with them, while the body is still in a chest in the middle of the room. I had previously watched Rope, and this adaptation was one of the adaptations that I remembered more accurately. However, it was very interesting to read about the original play, the original format of the story. And after reading the play, I can see why it turned into such a good movie with really 3 strong actors. Because although this play is a shorter play, it has very interesting and quite distinctive characters. I thought the tempo of the play was really good. Moreover, I also thought that mentions of the famous people in the theater, in literature, and in other aspects belonging to 1929 was fascinating to read about. It was like reading a historical fiction narrative, whereas it was talking about the contemporary times, of course. However, because this play is all about people with no empathy and people who are very, very unsympathetic, I failed to feel many emotions, and overall I gave the play Rope by Patrick Hamilton a 7 out of 10. Today is the 28th, and yesterday evening I finished the book that I was reading for Jane Austen July, which was for the prompt of retelling of a Jane Austen work, Colonel Brandon's Diary by Amanda Grange. This book tells the story of Sense and Sensibility through the point of view of one of the main romantic interests, Colonel Brandon. About 40% of the book consists of the events prior to the beginning of the book Sense and Sensibility. As can be understood from the title, Colonel Brandon writes in his diary his thoughts, his emotions, and his views about the characters in Sense and Sensibility, and especially, of course, Marianne. This book surprised me pleasantly because the book that I've read in the series, which is Jane Austen Heroes series by Amanda Grange, was Edmund Bertram's Diary, and to be honest, it was one of the worst books that I read last year, because it didn't add anything to the existing story, whereas Colonel Brandon had a past which is full of events. I especially like the first 30% of the book, in which we are told the events that does not happen in the book. However, the events that happened in the book from the point of view of Colonel Brandon was very much different. And of course so much focused on Marianne. Well, the book clearly favors Eleanor. So it was a very fresh take on Sense and Sensibility. Moreover, among the heroes of Jane Austen, I thought Colonel Brandon was the most likely to write a diary, because I think he's the most emotional Jane Austen hero. That's why I really liked Colonel Brandon's Diary by Amanda Grange, and I gave the book an 8 out of 10. And by reading this book, I finished Jane Austen's series, which was a great progress on my series about series yearly reading challenge. Today is the 29th of July, and I finished 2 books back to back. The first book that I finished in the morning was Düğün Evi by Mahfouz. This book was originally written in Arabic by an Egyptian author in 1981, and it was also translated to English as The Wedding Song. This book revolves around a theater play called The Wedding Song, Düğün Evi. And in this play, the husband kills his wife and his child, and then snitches the fact that his parents are running an illegal casino in their home to the police, so that they are thrown to the prison. And there are many similarities in this play with the author, such as the death of his wife and children, and the fact that his parents have been sentenced for illegal gambling. So it's a mystery if the author also was a murderer and a snitcher. And the events following up to this tragedy is told from the point of view of 4 different people. First of all, the ex-lover of the deceased wife, and the author's father, then his mother, and then the author himself. This book was a very short book, but concentration was needed to fully grasp the cleverness of the book. I thought the book was extremely cleverly structured. I really wanted to keep on going while trying to solve the little clues about their lives, figure out what was the real truth. It was also very clever to go on with the character that knows the least to the character who created the play. So that's why I gave Düğün Evi by Mahfouz an 8 out of 10. And the second book that I finished was the audiobook that I was listening, which was the next book in the series that I picked in the series cup in my TBR video, which was My Plain Jane by Cynthia and Brodi, Ashton and Jodi Meadows. Like the first book in the series, My Lady Jane, the authors mixes the real characters, real people, some fact fiction tale with elements of urban fantasy. In this book, which has the imaginary tale of Charlotte Bronte writing the book Jane Eyre, and what experiences influenced in her writing that novel when she was a teenager. The author imagines Charlotte Bronte as Jane Eyre's friend from the school that she worked on as a teacher. However, she has a secret that she can see dead people and also speak with them. I really enjoyed the first book in the series, and the humor suited me very well. This book was less humorous, however, maybe because Jane Eyre is my favorite novel, I really loved the twists and turns that made it different from the Jane Eyre story. Interestingly, it was sort of following the main elements of the story, but the clever use of urban fantasy elements, as well as a very exciting plot, made me wonder what would happen. My favorite character in the book was Charlotte, and I really liked the surprising romance side story. It was not a conventional young adult love story. Also gave this book, which was also cleverly structured, an 8 out of 10. Today is the 30th of July, and I finished the graphic novel that I was reading for janeaustenjuly. This was actually a bonus book for the prompt of reading a retelling of Jane Austen book. This graphic adaptation was released by Marvel Comics, a part of a 4-book series released in 2010 and 2011. This is a complete faithful graphic novel adaptation of the novel Sense and Sensibility. It follows the two sisters, Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood, as they fall through hard times economically, and also as each they fall in love and then endure heartbreaks. This was, of course, a summarized version of the story. It was quite a successful attempt, and it used the most significant and most powerful speeches from the book word by word. As for the drawing style, I didn't dislike the drawing style, but I have to say I also did not like the style. I really do not like when the heads of people are drawn longer than their usual selves, and I truly do wish we could all be as thin as those figures. But it looks like I clearly prefer a more realistic drawing style of humans. I thought it was really a good summary of the story, and if you are afraid of stepping into classics, I think graphic novels is a perfect way to dip your toes into classics. But I would also advise you to read this graphic novel if you're a fan of Jane Austen like mine, because you will enjoy it no matter what. So I gave a marvelous comic adaptation of Sensibility a 7 out of 10. So those were the 6 works that I finished in the second half of July. Please comment down below, have you joined Jane Austen July? If you did, what was the best book you read aside from the original novels? Mine was Conall Brandon's Diary by Amanda Grange. And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose plain. Plain means sade in Turkish, and sade is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.